Okay, let's talk about that feeling. You know the one. You've got a huge deadline breathing down your neck, your heart's pounding, your brain is just screaming, do the thing. And yet, you're somehow glued to the couch, just endlessly scrolling. In that moment of pure panic, what's the word that pops into your head? Lazy? Yeah. Well, what if I told you that's not just wrong, it's not even close?
You know, for the longest time, I was convinced that procrastinating was just a massive personal failure, some kind of character flaw. But it turns out, science tells a totally different story. And honestly, it's a much kinder one. Today, we're going to tear down that whole idea and get to the real biological reason you put things off. This isn't about your willpower, it's about how your brain is wired.
All right, so first things first. We have got to separate two ideas that have been tangled up for way too long: procrastination and laziness. They are not, I repeat, not the same thing. Getting this difference is like the essential first step to getting out of the trap.
And this difference, it's everything. Think about it. Laziness is genuinely not wanting to do something and being totally fine with that. It's kicking back with zero stress. Procrastination, though, that's an all-out war inside your head. You want to do it, you know you should do it, and the fact that you're not doing it is causing you so much pain and guilt. A lazy person is happy doing nothing. A procrastinator is miserable doing nothing. Just let that sink in for a second. That anxiety you feel, that little voice of guilt that's nagging you while you watch just one more episode, that is your proof. It's the evidence that you actually care a lot about getting things done. If you were truly lazy, you wouldn't feel a thing. So let's just agree to throw that label in the garbage, right now. This quote from Dr. Tim Pychyl, who's a total authority on this stuff, just nails it. It changes the entire game. See, we've been trying to fix procrastination with to-do lists and fancy planner apps, but we've been aiming at the wrong target. It's not about your schedule, it's about your feelings.
Okay, so if it's all about emotions, what in the world is actually happening in our heads when we decide to watch a video about a cat playing the piano instead of doing our taxes? Well, it turns out there's literally a battle for control going on inside your skull.
And I'm not just being dramatic here. There are two very real parts of your brain with completely different goals. And when you're faced with a task you don't want to do, they go head-to-head. Understanding who these two players are is the secret to understanding why you do what you do. All right, so on one side, you've got your limbic system. The easiest way to think of it is as an impulsive toddler. It's a super old, primitive part of your brain that cares about one thing and one thing only: feeling good right now. It sees a cookie, it wants the cookie. It wants to avoid pain and get pleasure. End of story. Then on the other side, you've got the prefrontal cortex. This is the mature CEO of your brain. It gets future consequences, it cares about long-term goals, it's the part that makes rational plans.
So when you're faced with a task that brings up any kind of negative feeling, boredom, anxiety, self-doubt, whatever, the toddler, your limbic system, has a full-on meltdown. It sees that bad feeling as a real threat and decides to stage your coup. This is what's called an amygdala hijack. Your emotional brain literally yanks the controls away from your rational brain, screaming, "Danger, abort, let's go get some easy dopamine from social media instead."
And the thing is, this whole hijack, it's not a one-and-done deal. It's actually the start of a vicious cycle. And once you're caught in it, every single spin just makes the next one that much harder to break out of.
Let's walk through it, because we've all been here. It starts with that unpleasant task. Your brain's alarm bells start ringing. So to make the bad feeling go away, you jump to a distraction. For a second, you feel this wave of relief. But then it hits you. You've wasted time, and you're flooded with guilt and even more stress than when you started. Sound familiar? It's like you have that huge report to write, but you tell yourself you'll just check your email for 5 minutes, and 3 hours later, you're deep down a YouTube rabbit hole, and that report now feels 10 times more terrifying.
So what's the absolute worst thing you can do when you're stuck in this loop? You guessed it. Beat yourself up about it. All that guilt and shame is like pouring gasoline on the fire. It jacks up the very stress your brain was trying to escape in the first place, which makes the toddler even more likely to hijack your brain the next time.
So we get the problem now, right? It's emotional, it's biological, and shaming ourselves is just making it worse. But here's the really good news. There is a way out, and the solution is actually way simpler and kinder than you might think. Here we are with another piece of gold from Dr. Pychyl. This is the part we always get backward. We tell ourselves, "Oh, I'll do it when I feel motivated," or "I'm just not in the mood right now." We wait for this magical feeling of motivation to strike, but that's not how our brains work. You're never gonna feel like doing that boring report. Action has to come first. The feeling of motivation actually shows up after you start.
The real trick here is to sneak past the toddler's alarm system. So, don't think about writing the entire 10-page paper. That's way too scary. Instead, you just focus on one ridiculously small first step. The goal is not finish the paper. The goal is open the document and write one sentence. That's it. If you need to clean a disastrous kitchen, your goal isn't to make it spotless. Your goal is to put one single dish in the dishwasher. Your brain sees that tiny action, thinks, "Oh, that's no threat," and suddenly you're in motion.
So really, it all boils down to these two incredibly powerful strategies working together. First, you make the first step so easy it's almost laughable, that stupid small action. And second, you cut off the emotional fuel for the fire by practicing self-forgiveness.
And look, this whole forgiveness thing, it's not some nice, fluffy idea. It's a practical, biological tool. When you actually forgive yourself for procrastinating, you literally lower your stress hormones. This calms down that panicky toddler, the limbic system, and it allows the CEO, your prefrontal cortex, to get back into the driver's seat and start making good decisions again.
And there's actual data to prove this works. A study at Carleton University found that students who forgave themselves for procrastinating on their first exam procrastinated almost 50% less for the next one. That's huge. It just goes to show you that compassion is a way better strategy than shame. Forgiveness is what actually breaks the cycle.
So, to wrap all this up, if you remember nothing else from this explainer, remember this. Number 1, you are not lazy. You are in a state of emotional distress. 2, this is an emotion problem, not a time problem, so stop trying to solve it with a calendar. And 3, the way forward is simple. Forgive yourself to kill the stress, and then take one tiny, non-scary step.
And that leads us right to the last and most important question. Not what are you going to do tomorrow or next week, but right now. What is the one absurdly small action you can take on that thing you've been putting off the second this is over? The real power isn't in finishing, it's in starting.